ever avoided a conversation because you knew it would be uncomfortable? Maybe it was giving critical feedback, addressing a misunderstanding, or setting a boundary. Difficult conversations, unfortunately, are inevitable, but when handled well, they can strengthen relationships and lead to positive outcomes. I'm Sonia Sethi-Kohli, and I'm joined by my colleagues Jennifer Nonn-Murphy, and Marie Strauss, and Adrienne Wallace. In this episode of Connect to Engage, we're sharing 3 practical strategies to help you navigate tough conversations with confidence and care. Adrienne, kick us off with that first tip.
All right, so the first tip is to prepare with purpose. A successful, difficult conversation begins before a single word is even spoken. So, of course, most of us want these conversations to go smoothly, but if you don't prepare, they can quickly become emotional, reactive, and worst of all, unproductive. So, taking the time to prepare can mean the difference between reacting emotionally and responding intentionally. So let's talk about a couple do's first. Do reflect on your goal. So before the conversation, ask yourself, what do I want to accomplish in this conversation? So maybe it's to set a boundary, to share feedback with one of your direct reports or colleague, or even to clear up a misunderstanding. And knowing your purpose in advance will help you stay focused, even in those times if the conversation takes a detour. The second do is to consider the other person's perspective. So think about what that person might be feeling, or even what they might need to hear in order to stay open in that conversation. So if you take a moment to step into their shoes, which is showing empathy, you can anticipate possible reactions and avoid being caught off guard. And that leads us to our don't. So don't go in without a plan for sure, and don't expect everything to go exactly how you imagine. Even though you prepare, things are likely to take a turn once you actually get into that conversation. If you expect it to go perfectly, then that might create added pressure on you and also lead to frustration. So think about your preparation as just creating a roadmap, but still allowing that flexibility. I'm going to share an example from when I worked as a manager. I regularly conducted performance reviews with my team. And before those meetings, I wouldn't just review my notes, but I also read through their self-evaluations. So that let me know how they viewed their own performance and helped me prepare for any potential disconnects. So someone might have rated themselves very highly in an area where I actually had concerns. So then I'd know that I needed to approach that conversation with care and have specific examples prepared. So going into those conversations helped me stay calm and clear and also be constructive in those reviews. So keep in mind that you don't have to have the perfect words. You don't have to have your script laid out, but you need to just stay grounded in your purpose and also ready to listen as much as you speak. So before your next difficult conversation, take a few minutes to get clear on your intention, anticipate the other person's perspective, and walk in with a thoughtful plan. All right, Jen, what's next?
That is a perfect segue into what I want to talk about, which is staying calm. So, in emotionally charged conversations, our nervous system wants to take over. We have this fight, flight, freeze. But in order to connect effectively and to have a conversation that is productive, we need to stay regulated. So, do use calming strategies, deep breathing, pausing before you respond, grounding yourself physically. I always tell clients that everyone has their own set of calming strategies, and you have to kind of figure that out for yourself, but take the time to do that. Do focus in your conversations on using I statements instead of blame. So it would sound like, I feel concerned when this happened, rather than you never, you always. That's not very an effective way to have the conversation. Don't match the other person's intensity or to let emotions hijack your message. So one example I have is during a performance review, an employee of mine became very defensive. I had to stay centered, acknowledge their concerns, and gently brought the conversation back to the common original goal, and which was the focus. And the result is less tension, more collaborative. So staying calm helps you de-escalate and lead the conversation towards clarity. Anne Marie, bring us home with our final tip.
Thanks so much, Jen. Yes, and clarity is so essential. In anticipation of a difficult conversation that you're having to come up with, preparing the words and the tone of your message, it's helpful ahead of time to have an idea of what you want to say. Despite all that, the conversation may still go off track. That's where redirection comes in. Using words like, let's circle back, or I don't want to lose sight of the original goal, helps you guide the conversation back to the original purpose. Listen to the person you're speaking to, validate their emotions, and don't ignore their cues, their emotional cues, but don't let them derail your conversation either. As an example, I was discussing a change in responsibility with a colleague, and they became very emotional about the change. They started bringing up a variety of different situations that had happened in the past that were totally unrelated to the situation at hand. I paused, I acknowledged their feelings, and I gently steered the conversation back to the discussion that we were having and the topic that we were on. And with that gentle guidance, my colleague was able to come to terms with the discussion, and it made a difference and with a positive outcome. The connection isn't about caving in, it's guiding with empathy. And Sonia, if you could wrap it up for us, that would be great.
Those were fantastic strategies, but I will have all three of you recap for us.
So remember to prepare with purpose, know your message in advance, and anticipate the reactions.
Stay calm under pressure, use regulation tools, and own your words.
With listening and empathy, you can build trust and keep difficult conversations on track.
Remember, using these strategies or trying them will help you with these challenging conversations, help you engage in these conversations with confidence and care, which are both very important. We would love to encourage you to try using at least one of these strategies in your next challenging conversation. What do we think will happen? We think that you will notice the impact right away in that conversation. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of Connect to Engage. Please be sure to subscribe and check in with us for our next episode, where we'll be diving into more meaningful communication tips and strategies. Thank you.